You open a message and feel the tug before you read the words. A headline, a text, a smile timed half a beat too late. It's astonishing how quickly the body knows what to do. Lean in, click, reply, agree, apologize, defend. The mind loves speed because speed saves energy. It offers comfort dressed as clarity, a feeling of being already decided without the awkwardness of deciding. That warmth is how manipulation begins. It doesn't ask you to believe, it asks you to hurry. Hurrying is a kind of agreement you don't. Notice signing. If you've ever said yes and wondered later why, you already know the texture of fast thinking. It arrives with a little rush and leaves a little fog. You don't remember choosing, but you remember moving. And then there you are, reshaping your day around something that didn't earn the right to steer it. The people who profit from your speed understand something tender about you. You want to be a good person, a helpful partner, a responsive friend, a team player, an informed citizen. You want to be the kind of person who doesn't miss out, doesn't let people down, doesn't fall behind. The trick is simple. They don't argue with those values, they borrow them. Urgency wears the clothes of care. Scarcity wears the clothes of opportunity. Consensus wears the clothes of belonging. The rhythm is always the same. Compress time, inflate certainty, punish hesitation. If they can keep you running, they never have to show you the road. Imagine a hand over a map nudging your finger. Here, fast, now. The map zooms in so closely you can't see that the road loops back to the same parking lot every time. The opposite of being fooled is not suspicion, it's perspective. Perspective takes time even when the time you buy is 10 seconds. If you slowed the moment down by 10 seconds, a door would appear that wasn't there before. 10 seconds isn't rebellion. It's permission to think. In those seconds, something happens that is small and miraculous. The first feeling swells and then settles, the way a wave breaks and rolls back, leaving sand you can stand on. On that sand, you can ask a small question that separates signal from theater. What is being claimed here? Not the vibe, not the pressure, not the social weather. The claim. A single line you can hold. The moment you sentence a message, you steal ambiguity from speed. Manipulation loves fog. Fog makes details optional and alternatives invisible. Fog lets a performance pass for proof. When you sentence the claim, you turn fog into a shape. And shapes can be examined. This is not a courtroom, it's a quiet table where you pour the liquid into a cup to see what color it is. Feelings deserve respect. Sentences deserve inspection. The difference between the two is not moral, it's practical. Feelings tell you something true about you. Sentences tell you something testable about the world. You can try this right now, with anything. That post that made your heart pound. That email that made your jaw clench. That pitch that tested your hope. What is being claimed exactly? Say it plainly enough that a stranger would understand. If you find yourself adding adjectives to make it persuasive, you've found where hype was doing the heavy lifting. If you find there's no claim at all, just a coil of emotion and implication, then the message wasn't built to inform you. It was built to move you. Movement isn't bad, but motion without a destination wastes a day. Fast thinking is not your enemy. It kept your ancestors alive when the grass moved, and the shape in the grass might mean predator. Fast thinking is the sprinter in you, gorgeous, efficient, necessary. The problem arrives when the sprinter tries to run the whole race alone. You need a coach who tells the sprinter where to sprint and where to walk. Manipulators hate this coach. Their tricks depend on shortcuts that thrive in hurry. The first number you hear drags your estimate toward itself. The first face you like spills a halo over every claim it makes. A loss that might happen feels twice as painful as a gain of the same size, and repetition starts to sound like truth. You cannot remove these human defaults, but you can invite a companion practice that catches them in the act. Here is a story I keep, because it taught me how small the difference can be between being steered and steering. A friend of mine was sure he was about to miss the opportunity of the decade. He found a program that promised a transformation so complete that everything difficult about his life would become easy. The testimonials were extraordinary. The production was elegant. The deadline was tonight. He called me in a half-breath state, where every sentence arrived without punctuation. He needed my opinion, but really he needed my speed. We tried something that felt almost impolite in the face of his excitement. We sentenced the claim. Not the vibe of the website, not the charisma of the presenter, not the emotional weather of the comment section. The claim was simple. If he bought this, his life would quickly improve in the measurable ways the testimonials described. It hurt a little to say it that plainly. It always does when we love the fog. Fog makes hope easier. Then we did something else that felt rude. We invited a generous stranger who disagreed. We built their best case. They might say the presenter was sincere and the material was real for some people, but uneven in its effects. They might say the program used a standard set of habit tools with a layer of inspiration that works short-term and needs structure to work long-term. They might say the deadline wasn't about missing the boat. It was about preventing calm comparison. We didn't stop there. We spotted my friend's favorite bias, his affection for sudden solutions. If he was going to buy, it should be with both eyes open to the kind of hope that had burned him before. Finally, we asked 2 quiet questions that extend time without pretending to predict the future. If he bought and it helped, then what? He would gain a month of momentum and a few practices he could keep. If he bought and it didn't help, then what? He would lose money he could afford, but feel the old guilt of chasing magic. He didn't need me to decide for him. By the time we finished the 10-minute tour, the pressure had dropped. He didn't say no. He didn't say yes. He said, "I'll test the shape without the price." He took the free pieces, ran them for 2 weeks, and learned that his life improved when a friend texted him at 7 a.m. to ask whether he'd done the hard thing first. He didn't need a miracle. He needed a human who would sit next to his sprinting brain and say, "Jog here, sprint there." The manipulative world is not just a world of villains. Most of the time, it's a world of incentives and inertia. A person selling you urgency might believe in it. A colleague forwarding panic might genuinely be afraid. A partner insisting it has to be now may be trying to lock in relief before their own fear returns. Compassion and clarity can live in the same room. You can be gentle with the human and firm with the tactic. "I like you. Now show me the evidence." "I hear your fear. Now let's name the claim." "I want to help. Now tell me precisely what you're asking." If you want to see manipulation deflate without a fight, keep your voice low and your words specific. There's a part of you that worries this will slow you down too much, that in a world of predators and promotions, asking for sentences is a way to miss every train. It's fair to worry. But notice the cost of speed. Speed confuses confidence with accuracy. It makes the boldest voice sound like the truest. It turns charisma into a proxy for credibility. It rewards the story that took the shortest path to your amygdala. Speed makes us take repetition for proof. So the loudest claim that appears the most times wins the day, and the careful claim that took an hour to make loses your attention. The result is not only bad choices, it is a life where your attention is no longer placed by you. It is placed by whoever is good at making you hurry. If you crave a quieter life, you don't need to turn away from the world. You can meet it differently for 10 minutes a day. Think of a nightly ritual the way you think of brushing your teeth. You do not do it because you believe this night will ruin you. You do it because small routines make cavities less likely. Take one message that moved you today. Not every message. One. Bring it into that small room only you can open. Sit down. Write the sentence of the claim. Ask who is speaking and what they bring, a vantage point, a stake, data, method. Ask what the best informed, most charitable counterview would say and why. Watch the bias you favor float up like a familiar fish. Greet it by name. Run the then what question twice. If I act now, what changes tonight? And what changes after that? Decide with a cool hand. Save, share, ignore, or investigate. This doesn't have to be dramatic. In fact, the less dramatic it is, the more durable it becomes. You are practicing agency the way a pianist practices. Scales, not because you want to play scales in public, but because you want your hands to find their way when the song is complicated. Let's talk about what this looks like in the moments that matter, when the manipulative move is wrapped in something you love. Belonging, approval, possibility. You're in a group chat and a rumor appears. The message is delicious. It confirms A suspicion you have nursed for months. Your thumb rises to share. This is where your practice pays rent. You can keep your suspicion if you like. First, give it a sentence. The claim is that X happened at Y for Z reason. Now the triangle. Who is saying it? What's their evidence? What would a credible opposing voice say? This is not policing language. It is protecting your future credibility. It is cheaper to be careful for 10 seconds than to spend 10 days repairing the way people see your judgment or take work. A colleague pushes a deadline and calls it urgent. The task mushrooms depends on you and arrives with a tone that implies you'll be a bad teammate if you don't absorb the hurry. Speed on their side becomes debt on yours. Ask for a sentence. The claim is that this must be done by noon, or the project fails. Evidence, counterview? If the failure is reputational rather than real, if the urgency is a way to shift risk rather than to solve a problem, your 10 seconds might buy your entire afternoon. And if the urgency is real, your 10 seconds will help you aim your sprint. Sometimes the manipulative move is a mirror held at just the right angle to make you look bigger or smaller. Flattery is a currency with an expiration date. It makes you spend fast. The way out is not to become immune to kindness. It is to learn to separate warmth from pressure. If praise arrives with a clock, that clock is not love's clock. If admiration arrives with an invoice, the invoice is the point. You are allowed to ask for time even when someone is seeing the best version of you. If it is real, it will survive the pause. If it melts in 10 seconds, you learned for free what would have cost you months. There's another trick that thrives on speed. Topic switching. You name a specific concern. The other person turns to your tone. You point to a behavior they remember. A failure of yours from last winter. In fast talk, the map changes under your feet. Slow talk fixes the map long enough to finish the street you're on. We're discussing the message sent yesterday at 9:14, not my tone today. We can discuss last winter at 3. Right now we're on the handoff for this week. You're not being pedantic. You're refusing the loop. Loops burn trust because they burn time. People who want resolution appreciate rails. People who want control call rails controlling. Here is a gentler story because not all manipulation is predatory. A parent asks you for help and uses guilt without knowing it. They learned long ago that urgency is the only way to get what they need. You feel the pull and the love in the same moment. If you rush, you might help and resent. If you delay, you might care better. Slowing the moment does not mean saying no. It means choosing the form of your yes. I can do 30 minutes tonight and 2 hours Saturday. Which helps more? You are still generous. You are also intact. One day they might learn from your pace. Even if they don't, you will come back to this relationship with more to give and less to regret. Another scene. You are on a date with someone enchanting. They make brilliant eye contact and tell stories that curl perfectly into your preferences. They agree with your opinions before you finish them and announce they've never felt this kind of connection. You want to believe. The risk is not that they are lying. It's that you will forget to ask any questions the rush cannot answer. Slow the clock a little, ask for a small boundary, and watch the response. I don't text after 10. I see friends alone. I don't commit. On the spot. If this is real, it will breathe. If this is theater, it will complain about the ventilation. Speed also distorts the self. Under pressure, you might discover that you are very good at rescuing and very bad at resisting. You may perform competence as a way to avoid the vulnerability of disappointing people. Manipulators don't have to create this tendency. They only have to invite it. They will frame their needs as tests of your goodness. They will make delay sound like betrayal. When you slow the moment down, you let your goodness be more than availability. You let it be judgment. You decide whether this is yours to carry. You allow kindness to have a schedule. I want to be honest about the friction. People will sometimes accuse you of overthinking. That is fine. You are not building a cathedral in your head every time you pause. You are building a habit of asking for one sentence. Overthinking spirals. This reduces. Overthinking is an attempt to control the uncontrollable. This practice is a way to choose in the one place you always have control, between stimulus and response. If you feel that the pause is making life bland, check what you define as flavor. Constant intensity is not depth. It is dysregulation dressed up in poetry. Depth is being able to keep your promises to yourself while the world sings at you. Notice. What happens to shame when you practice slowly? Shame loves speed because speed prevents repair. When you move too fast and make a choice you don't like, shame rushes in to turn a misstep into a story about your character. The antidote is not denial. It is curiosity. Name the move you fell for. Rehearse the sentence you'll use next time. Write a kinder script for the version of you who will meet this again at 11:30 on a tired night. Nothing about this is glamorous. That's why it works. Self-respect grows quietly in rooms where no one is performing. If you need a line to carry, try this. Clarity first, kindness always, speed only when earned. It's not an oath. It's a compass. Clarity first means you sentence the claim before you agree to be steered by it. Kindness always means you remember that the person across from you has their own frightened reasons for rushing, and that gentleness does not require surrender. Speed only when earned means you sprint when the evidence and the stakes justify it, not when the loudest voice threatens to leave without you. If they leave, perhaps they were never going where you wanted to go. There are days when you will not do any of this. You will say yes too fast and live with it. You will believe the story that flattered your favorite ache. You will forward the rumor and feel clever for an hour and heavy for 2 days. This too is part of learning. When you stumble, don't. Write a moral autobiography in permanent ink. Write a note in pencil. I bought speed today. Then do the smallest repair available. Apologize where it matters. Unsubscribe where you can. Add one friction to a habit that fools you. Turn off push notifications for the apps that teach your sprinter to run in circles. Move the phone to the other room during the hours when your hope is loud and your judgment is tired. Rituals are how we help the future version of ourselves keep promises. The present version wants to keep but cannot always remember. Sometimes the manipulator lives in your own head. It tells you a story about your worth that narrows your choices to obedience or exile. It uses the voice of someone who made you small a long time ago. That voice is clever. It knows your shortcuts. It will make you hurry into old roles, old arguments, old rooms where you perform being needed. Because needed feels like safe. Slow the moment when that voice starts its auction. Name its claim. Who is speaking? What is the evidence? What would a kind, informed counterview say? Run the then what twice. If I obey this voice, then what happens tonight? And then what after that? Options appear. You might still choose the familiar, but you will have chosen it. Choosing lets you change later, without hating the person you were. I will leave you with one more image, because images can survive the noise of a day when sentences don't. Picture a small room inside your schedule with a door only you can open. The room is quiet. There is a table in the middle and a chair. By the table and a notebook on the table, and a pen that writes smoothly. When a message tries to own you, you bring it into this room. You sit, you write the sentence of the claim. You ask who, evidence, counterview. You strengthen the other side once because you would rather be corrected cheaply now than expensively later. You watch your favorite bias arrive and you nod at it like an old neighbor. You ask then what, then what. You decide. You stand. You leave the room. The world hasn't changed. You have a little. And that little is how lives turn. If you practice this for 1 week, the change is subtle but unmistakable. You will still feel the tugs. You will still want to hurry, but the 10-second door will appear more often, and the room will be easier to enter. People who love you will notice that you're calmer without being colder. People who used to nudge you with urgency will either grow to respect your pace or move on to easier marks. You will discover pockets of time you didn't know you owned because they used to belong to other people's emergencies. You will find that your yes carries more weight because it is actually yours. Most importantly, you will begin to like the person who makes your choices. That person is steady, not stubborn, not invincible, just steady. There is a future version of you who has already done this for a while. They are not grand or impressive. They simply do not confuse hurry with importance anymore. They do not mistake charisma for credibility. They do not treat scarcity as a prophecy. They are not harder, they are clearer. If you met them, you would recognize yourself. Start inviting them in 10 seconds at a time. When the tug comes, breathe. When the breath comes, sentence the claim. When the claim sits on the table, give it light, give it a counter view, give it 2 ripples, and then give it your decision. That's the whole practice. It sounds small because it is. But small things, done daily, grow roots. Roots are what keep you from being pulled up by the next gust of someone else's urgency. You don't need to become a different person to do this. You don't need a cabin or a new personality or a calendar without obligations. You need a corner of your mind that belongs to you and a willingness to pause in it for a few breaths a day. You can do that in a subway, in a bathroom stall, in a stairwell at work, in your car before you go inside. You can do it with a napkin and a dull pencil. You can do it while someone is telling you that only a fool would pause right now. You can do it when you are tired and sad and tempted to buy a story that costs more than it gives. The practice is not heroic. It is ordinary and quiet and stubborn in a friendly way. That is why it works where theatrical resolutions do not. The world will keep offering you speed as proof of significance. You are allowed to offer yourself patience as proof of respect. So here is the invitation for tonight. Pick one message that tried to steer you today. Write its sentence. Ask who, evidence, counterview. Write one bias you saw in yourself. 1. Then what, and one more. Decide with a cool hand. Close the notebook, that's all. Tomorrow you'll do it again. After a week, you'll own half an hour of your mind that used to belong to whoever yelled first. After a month, you'll have a stack of small pages that describe the person you are becoming. Someone who moves through the same world with less friction. Not less feeling, less friction. And you'll notice something strange and delightful. Thinking slowly for a moment will give you back hours you thought you had to surrender. Speed will still exist in your life, but it will be chosen speed, aimed speed. The kind that carries you where you meant to go. If this helped you reclaim your mind from manipulation, subscribe to Dark Psyche Vision. Tap like so it reaches someone who needs it, and share it with the one person ready to see the dark triad clearly. Now close the app. Breathe. Walk slowly. Let stillness reset your pace. The world will still be here when you return, and you'll meet it on your terms.